Center for the Study and Teaching of Writing at The Ohio State University. This is Writer's Talk. I'm Doug Dangler. John Green's first novel, 2005's Looking for Alaska, won critical praise, the Teens Top 10 Award, as well as the Printz Award. His 2007 An Abundance of Catherines was a Printz finalist, and his 2008 Paper Towns debuted at number 5 on the New York Times bestseller list for young adults. It won the 2009 Edgar Award for Best Young Adult Novel, and according to his very recent, as of yesterday, YouTube video, made in Columbus, Ohio, I might add, it also won the American Library Association's Young Adult Library Services Association Teen Top 10. It was at number 1, beating out Stephanie Meyer's Breaking Dawn. Congratulations and welcome, John Green.
No, thanks for having me.
Sure. That's a very long title, by the way, of the award that you won yesterday.
The Young Adult Library Services Association's American Library Association.
Yeah, I didn't know which way that went, but I'm glad that I got it all out without making an error. And I'm not going to mention that this is the 16th time we had to do that intro. Anyway, you mentioned in I mentioned your YouTube video in the introduction. Tell me about your Vlog Brothers, which is a very popular video series on YouTube.
Yeah, several years ago, at the beginning of 2007, my brother Hank and I decided to communicate only via video blog for a year. So every day for a year, we made video blogs back and forth to each other. And we did it to entertain each other, but we made the videos public. And then over the course of the year, the audience got bigger and bigger and bigger. And this kind of community developed out of it. A community, sort of a nerd-based community, we like to say. Nerds who believe in social activism and intellectualism and celebrating those things. And so ever since then, we've continued to make videos because we like the community.
Mm-hmm. See, now at first I thought your Nerd Fighters, I think is your name for them. I thought that was a street gang. And it turns out to be something entirely different.
We're pro-nerd.
Pro-nerd, right.
Yeah. You only have to look at, if you look at either Hank or me, you'll immediately realize that we have to be pro-nerd.
Pro-nerd, okay. Well, tell me about, there's some rules to this.
Yeah.
And a couple of the rules are that if either brother misses something, you set yourself up for punishment.
Right.
Which suggests, an upbringing that really revolved around guilt or something. I'm not sure how all that works out. I won't ask that. But why the punishments? How did you come up with the punishments that you do for missing a vlog?
Well, the thought was that Hank and I both have a lot of ideas and follow through on very few of those ideas. So that if we had some kind of reason to keep going, to make a video every day, and if there was a threat behind not making a video every day, that then we would do it,
Okay.
which proved to be the case, actually. Punishment works really well. Negative reinforcement is extremely effective on me. So it's worked.
So that's why you work under deadlines for your books.
Yeah.
I take it as a writer, you must have deadlines.
Yeah.
Do the publishers ever suggest that they'll punish you in some way, publicly, humiliation for not meeting a deadline?
If only their threats were that charming and funny.
Okay. Well, tell me about some of these publishments. I saw one where you did the constituent parts of a Carl's Jr. And there was lard involved, there was protein powder, I think, involved. And your reaction, sadly, occurred off camera after you had mixed it in the mixer and then drank it.
Yeah.
The first sip was good, the second sip
was worse. The third caused me to vomit,
right.
Which is more or less the way that I feel about Carl's Jr. when I experience it in reality. But no, the idea was that all of these people on YouTube had been paid to eat a Carl's Jr. hamburger on camera as product placement, and they'd offered it to us, and we'd passed because that's ridiculous. And so instead, I thought that I would eat, and I was having to get punished anyway, I thought I would eat the constituent parts of a Carl's Jr. burger to sort of show how massively disgusting it is, the actual thing you're putting in your body is.
I want to tell you that Carl's Jr. is one of our sponsors. And we,
sorry.
Really, no,
sorry. It's delicious.
Yeah. So what's the favorite punishment that your brothers had to do? I won't ask yours, but what's the one that caused you, because you're brothers, right?
Yeah.
And I know that when I was a kid, my brothers and I delighted in, injury to the other person.
Oh, yeah.
I was shot by BB guns, things along these lines. What's the favorite one that your brothers had to endure?
My favorite one is probably one that wasn't physically challenging, but was massively humiliating, which was that we made him recreate the most embarrassing moments of his life using sock puppet theater. And boy, I mean, it was quite, a lot of like bathing suits falling off at inopportune moments, falling off of sock puppets. It was, yeah, that one really stayed with me.
Okay. Well, I have a question from what I did today was I pulled the internet, that series of tubes that you're probably familiar with, and to ask people the sorts of questions that they might like to ask you. So I'll set it up that way and let you know that, I don't have to take any personal responsibility for questions this time, and I'm pretty pleased about that.
All right.
So Jennifer Mylink McNeely is an internet person who wants to know, what advice would John Green to young kids who want to become authors?
Well, the first thing I would say is that it's not an unrealistic career goal. It might be an unrealistic goal to become like wealthy or to have a sustainable income from writing. But I don't
to live as a writer.
No, yeah,
that's unsustainable. But you can write.
Right, and you can get published, and there are a lot of people who get published. I used to work at this book review journal called Booklist, and we reviewed 400 books every 2 weeks. I mean, every one of those books was written by someone. And there's no reason that any young person should be discouraged from the idea of long-form storytelling, because I think that that's going to be around. It's been around for a long time. I think it's going to be around for a long time. My advice for the actual process of writing and learning to write well is first to read a lot. I think that's the only apprenticeship that we have as writers. I think that's the only access that we have to the way that stories have been worked on paper for a long time. And my second piece of advice is to tell stories to your friends and try to pay attention to when they get bored, because they will get bored, and that can help you sort of learn how to pace a story, which I think is one of the harder things, at least for me.
Mm-hmm. So do you do that when you're doing vlogs as well? Do you, because your wife, who does not appear on camera, and for this reason is referred to as the Yeti.
Right.
Do you read stuff to her to get a reaction? She reads it. She's one of your critics. Is that how it works?
She reads both my stories, and I don't write out the vlogs in advance, but she watches them when I'm editing them and helps me condense things and condense ideas, and sometimes refilm lines to make them clearer or smarter. But yeah, she reads everything that I write, which is something of a burden for her. I mean, I don't know that she necessarily enjoys doing it.
We should interview her.
Yeah, no, it'd be fascinating.
Of the books that John has written, which ones were the greatest burden perhaps to read, and which one?
The problem is that she has to read the same thing over and over and over again, so she'll read 20 or 30 drafts of something. And
oh, you make her read all the drafts?
Oh, yeah,
Wow,
no, everything.
That's harsh.
Yeah.
That's love.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm a lucky guy. And I'm also lucky that she's such a good reader.
Mm-hmm. What is, just out of curiosity, what kind of feedback does she give you? Somebody that's that close to you in your writing.
Well, she has to be a little nice, because we've got this marriage to keep going.
Right.
But she's always been very honest, and I wrote the first draft of Looking for Alaska before we started dating, and when she first read Looking for Alaska, she was very honest. It was a very different book then, and I think it's a much better book for her being in my life and being in my writing life. But yeah, she's pretty straightforward, and she's not afraid to rank things either. Like I would never say which of my books is my favorite, but she's happy to say that.
She's happy. Okay, like was the John Cusack movie where they rank everything, so she can rank the books. How does she rank? Should I ask how she ranks Looking for Alaska and your other books, Paper Towns?
She ranked Paper Towns first, I believe Looking for Alaska second, and Abundance of Catherine's third.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, it shows that there's a progress, though. If you've got a new number one, like your new number one on the Teen Choice Awards, for which apparently there was a cage match between you and Stephanie Myers. I had heard about this, that there was. No, I'm just kidding.
That would have been great. I would have definitely won then.
That's a challenge, Stephanie Myers, right here from John Green, cage match.